Every pregnancy needs utmost care and attention. But certain pregnancies need a little extra attention. An RH negative mother carrying an RH positive baby is at increased risk of complications. BSV is at the forefront to ensure safe delivery in every RH negative pregnancy.
Okay then, hello and welcome to the Outside View, brought to you by Women's Cricket Zone and presented by BSV, Puma, Food and Wellness and AMRI Hospitals. Match 7 of the World Cup. West Indies and England all set to lock horns with each other. The West Indies enter this contest with a nail-biting win in the final over, and whereas England have entering this contest after a loss against Australia. No doubt it is going to be an intriguing contest, and to discuss it further, I have alongside me Julia and Mohit from Women's Cricket Zone. Welcome both of you to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So coming to you, Julia, first. After a game like that against Australia, and given that this tournament is such a lengthy one, how important it is for the team to keep the morale up, especially with facing different opponents? What's the talk that follow in the dressing room, and how important it will be for England today?
Yeah, very, very important. They're pretty drained after their tour in Australia, and obviously that game the other day was a massive game for England. Not be able to just get there must be quite exhausting. Just keep losing to Australia all the time and having these close games. But at the same time, their morale should be up. They played really good cricket. Nat Siver is in amazing form. Their bowlers aren't doing too badly, just not being able to get the wickets at the moment. The Australian batters are in really, really good touch. But I think it's important that I don't think they'll lose any confidence from that loss the other day. It was a mammoth chase of 310 to get anywhere close to that was a fantastic effort. So to me, I think they'll be up and about. I think they'll feel that they've got a bit of an edge over the West Indies. They've got a pretty good record against them. And it's pretty cold down in Dunedin, so that might be a little bit of an advantage for the English over the West Indies as well.
Definitely, the West Indies, the head-to-head stats between England and West Indies show us that England clearly have an edge. But then just giving a quick update on the toss, West Indies have won the toss and they've elected to bat first. That's what they did in the first game as well. So it will be interesting to see how the innings go forward. Coming to you, Mohit, New Zealand sort of turned their game with their spin trio in the last game. And West Indies have quite a few effective spinners by their side. A good factor ahead of the game against the defending champions because the venue is same and the spinners are probably going to have a say.
Yeah, especially now that they're batting first, I think that's a big advantage for them because they have the potential to bowl at least 30 overs of spin in every match, and depending on the team today, it can even be 40. And as we saw in the last match in Dunedin, the spinners were getting a lot of assistance. And considering they'll be bowling second today, the pitch might be slower in the second innings if there's no rain. So I definitely feel like West Indies has one of the best spin bowling attacks in the tournament. So they have a big advantage in that regard over England because Sophie Ecclestone didn't have a great game against Australia, but she's a top quality spinner. However, beyond that, unless Charlie Dean's playing, England's second choice spinner would be Heather Knight. So they won't be able to get in a lot of overs of spin in today's match.
Yeah, definitely. But Julia, despite the experienced attack in Catherine Brunt, Anya Shrubsole, Kate Cross, Siver, and Eccleston there, England weren't able to get those early breakthroughs. That is what hurt them. So what according to you went wrong there?
Yeah, I just think they got their lengths a little bit wrong. Probably didn't execute it. I know Catherine Brunt sort of just had a fairly straight field set, and she kept bowling fairly short. She does like to be aggressive. So I just think they need to probably just get it a little fuller, allow the ball to swing. We know that she can get the ball to swing. Kate Cross is a perfect sort of length sort of bowler. I actually thought she bowled pretty well the other day and was probably a little unlucky. They also dropped a few catches as well, which obviously didn't help them against Australia. But I just think generally they're just going to try that back of a length, allow the ball to swing a little, let them get into their innings and really try and challenge the Australian batters make the Australian batters actually do something different as opposed to just sort of changing your bowlers around a little consistently. And with the 5 bowlers, I think that's where they definitely need to bring in that one extra bowler. And I was tossing up between Freya Davies and Charlie Dean, and I probably prefer Charlie Dean as a spin bowling option, and she's also a pretty decent bat as well. Just because they haven't really got anyone supporting Sophie Eccleston at the moment, and Heather Knight seems quite reluctant to put herself on at the moment. So I know Heather's been said she's really happy with the bowling. It's just getting the batting together that seems to be more their issue. But yeah, Charlie Dean for me in today. I'm fingers crossed. I don't know if we've seen the teams yet.
And also, we saw in the first game against New Zealand, Julia, that West Indies were struggling there with the catches and fielding in the bit. Of course, they then pulled it off in the last over of Deandra Dottin, but that would be an area where they'll need to turn the tables around this time around, because England obviously have a good record over them, and runs leaked there would hurt them.
Yeah, well, I thought that their batting was fantastic. Obviously, they were missing out on their opener and had Hayley Matthews promoted up to the top of the order, normally batting in the middle order, and then she got a fantastic 100, which they really based themselves around, and she accelerated beautifully towards the end there as well. But they also had plenty of 50-run partnerships with Nation and Stefani Taylor, and also Sherman Campbell, the wicketkeeper. So to me, they're starting to get their batting unit batting as a whole team. They used to just bat as individuals, and I really like the way that they had some composure there. I just think that their bowling, their execution again, they got off to a bad stuff. Cannell didn't bowl very well. She bowled very short, got punished early, and it was really difficult to really stem the flow of runs from there. So to me, it's just about their bowlers, just making sure that they're executing again. I think that seems to be the problem a little bit in New Zealand with a lot of the teams, is the batting seems to be a lot easier than the bowling at this stage. So it's so important to execute and make sure that you've got appropriate plans in place with your field as well.
So as we said that West Indies will be batting first, just let's quickly have a look at the playing 11 for both the teams of England and West Indies. So here we have the England side. What do you make of the side, Julia, first coming to you?
Yeah, well, a little disappointing it wasn't changed. I mean, I understand that they're trying to stick with a few people, give them a bit of confidence. I mean, I really like Lauren Winfield-Hill. I think she's good, but I think this tournament's so quick, and getting a win over someone like the West Indies is so vital for England after having just been pipped at the moment. Hasn't got a win yet in the tournament. This is only their second game. So I would have loved to have seen them just maybe tweak it a little, just to get them another bowler in that mix. Unless Heather Knight is definitely going to step up. I just feel it's good to have that sort of slower off-pace bowler bowling option for them. So, but at the same time, it's great that they're backing someone like Lauren Winfield-Hill to get the runs. She is a good player, and these pitches should be suiting her. So maybe they feel that she's going to be more comfortable against the West Indies attack.
Yes. Chanel Henry's role with the ball over the last 12 months has really increased, and she looks like a much more confident with the ball right now. So your thoughts on Chanel Henry, Mohit?
Yeah, I think like she was one of the big positives for West Indies in the last game because she opened the bowling, and like Julia said, Connell was a little guilty of bowling a little short and giving away a lot of runs, but it was Henry who actually bowled very well in the power play and kept the run scoring down. So like she was one of West Indies' better bowlers in that opening game, and like I think the only overs where she gave away a little bit of runs was right at the death in her last 2 overs. But she's someone who can like contribute with the bat as well. And even in the last match, she seemed to be in good touch before like a great catch in the outfield got her dismissed. And she's also a good fielder. So yeah, I think Chanel Henry is going to be a key player for the West Indies, especially if she's going to be bowling with the new ball right through the tournament. So yeah, I think her performance against New Zealand was a big positive for them.
Tammy Bowman, of course, raised her 50 of just 54 balls, and she then passed her 3,000 ODI runs, becoming the fifth England player to do so. Your thoughts, Julia, on her importance in the side?
Yeah, she's super important for the team, particularly when they're just having a few issues with their opening batters at the moment. It's not quite as stable as they'd like. So she really needs to make sure she stays out there. ODI player in the ODI team last year for the ICC. just a very experienced player, has got quite a few hundreds for England as well. So we know that she can do it. She batted beautifully against the Australians the other day, had great intent from ball one, and was really, really attacking. And I think she was enjoying these lower, slower pitches in New Zealand as opposed to the bouncy ones that she got in Australia. So she's really in her comfort zone at the moment. And getting off to a good start is the ideal thing for her and potentially for Heather Knight and Nat Siver to just give them a little bit of breathing space so they've got plenty of opportunity to accelerate and really get into their innings without having to be out there in the first over or two.
Obviously, a few players from the West Indies side, whether it's Stefani, Doughton, Matthews, they played in the 100 last year alongside and against the England players. That exposure comes handy, Mohit. How does that help in understanding the game plans better? You've faced them in the nets. Obviously, you face them at the international level as well. But then in a tournament like the 100, you get good exposure. And at times like this of World Cup, it helps.
Yeah, it definitely helps a lot, and especially when it comes to these big three players for the West Indies, Taylor and Doughton have been around for a very long time. Haley Matthews is a proven big match player, so and like they've played in all these overseas leagues as well. So there are like small things that you might pick up about the players that you play with or against, which you can pass on to your teammates. It works the other way around as well, but yeah, like all these players are like very sound tactically as well as technically. And yeah, these three players will hold the key for the West Indies right through the course of this tournament.
Your take on the same, Julia, having getting the experience of being with the England players during the tournament?
Yeah, it's a great opportunity for them, and those players have also played in the WBBL against the English players. A lot of them have played in that, but it works in both ways. They've had a really good look at the English players now as well, so they might have a fair bit of intel into how the English are going to go around bowling at them, and be able to feed that back to their teammates as well that haven't had that opportunity to play so much internationally in these domestic competitions. So it works both ways.
And about England, if we talk about them, they struggled and failed to pass the 200 plus mark in any of the three ODIs of the Ashes. But in the last game, they did. They were close enough, but then lost the game. That should be a positive for them. Who do you see making a larger impact on this game with the bat, Julia?
Well, for England, with I think Nat Siver, obviously she's in very, very good form at the moment. As is Heather Knight. She's been excellent as well. But I'd love to see Amy Jones really start to step up. I feel she hasn't really, probably, she's a very talented player, and we just haven't seen those runs from her at the moment. And England really need her to be able to kick in towards the back end of these innings to make sure that we're getting them home. And at the moment, she hasn't really been able to do that. You'd nearly be happier with someone like Catherine Brunt or Sophie Eccleston who've gone out there and done that job, but they're sort of batting a little lower than Amy Jones. So Amy Jones at 5, she really needs to make sure she steps up and really contributes with the bat.
Yes. And of course, a word on the good form of Haley Matthews, Mohit. Her batting order was shuffled a tad bit in the recent past, but she's just smashing it no matter what. Century in the last game. What makes her stand out?
So Haley Matthews is actually a very interesting case because she had her big breakthrough moment at the 2016 T20 World Cup final, but she like kind of struggled to build onto that over the last 5 years. But like she was like thrown in the deep end a little bit in the first match at the World Cup because she had to like step up to opening. She's opened a lot in the past, but in the last few games she'd been playing at number 5. So I think like Haley Matthews, like the stroke she played in the beginning, and she put the onus on the bowlers because she was very aggressive along with Doughton in that power play. So New Zealand found themselves on the back foot right away. But what I think about Haley Matthews is also that she's probably the best off spinner going around in world cricket currently because she bowls immaculate lengths and is very difficult to get away, especially at the pace at which she bowls. Moreover, she has like the ability to bowl right through the course of the innings. Even against New Zealand, she got two very big wickets. She got Melly Kerr just when it looked like her and Sophie Devine were putting on a game-changing partnership. So yeah, Matthews, the bowler, is going to be as crucial as Haley Matthews, the opening batter.
Your take on that, Julia? Haley Matthews, an integral part of the West Indies setup, looked
Yeah,
impressive.
absolutely. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I signed her after that 2016 tournament for the Hobart Hurricanes when I was coaching them. And when Hayley's in really good form when she's playing that on drive, she sort of had struggled with that in the past, and that on drive the other day was beautiful. She's nice and balanced. She's just looking in some really good touch, and I think also bringing in Courtney Walsh has been sort of added that level of discipline maybe that she's needed. Sort of lost her way a little bit after the as a teenager being successful, it's pretty tough. And I think she's really worked her way back into the group. Batting in the middle order, I think, was probably a little bit of a shock for her. She loves to open. She loves to be in that top order. But she was performing very, very well in the middle order. So what I like about it is she's really increased her game and her adaptability and being able to bat anywhere sort of in that top 5 now, which is extremely handy for the West Indies. But again, yeah, she's a fantastic player, and I really love the touch that she's in at the moment. And as you mentioned with her bowling, she has been great. She's just a little quicker, like you said, through the air, harder to get away, but still getting really good turn out of the wickets, which has been troubling a few people.
Also, in the post-match, Julia, post-match press conference, Matthew said that Deandra pretty much just came to Stefani and said that, "Give me the ball, I'll bowl the last over." So everyone in the team were like, "You haven't bowled in international cricket for over a year now, didn't bowl in nets as well." But the determination that she showed to Stefani, like she wanted to do that job for the team. How is it to have a player like her in the setup with your experience of playing cricket? Just let us know, when the player steps up to take the responsibility for the team, how important it becomes for a team.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's great that your bowlers are wanting to bowl those big overs and finish it off, but at the same time, it sort of wreaked a little bit of the issues that the West Indies have had in the past with regards to who is actually in charge, who's making the decisions. And I know that Stefani Taylor was like, "Well, this is on you. I'm not making this decision," which I thought was quite interesting, because Selman was supposed to bowl that last over. So there's a little bit of hierarchical sort of battles there potentially. A great call in the end. I mean, Deandra Dotton's got some amazing talent. In fact, I'm surprised she hasn't bowled more, and maybe she will after that last over she did the other day. It was great confidence shown by her, but at the same time, maybe a little crack showing in the culture that we think may have shifted a little bit in the West Indies, and the fact that someone was challenging the captain so publicly as well. But I'd like to think that they went away and spoke about it after the game with Courtney Walsh, and maybe we'll be including Deandra in the bowling lineup from now on. Her pace was fantastic. She was on song from ball one, hadn't even warmed up, and those sort of players are really hard to find. She's an amazing athlete, and I'd really love to see her bowling today.
England, yeah. Coming back to England, obviously they'll be chasing it. They showed great intent with the bat in the last match, but then a little bit of a collapse at the end cost them the game, Mohit. So a lot of big hitters and a lot of good, strong batting unit there. They would be all determined to sort of dominate the proceeding against West Indies, because they've already lost one game, and it would be important for them to win this one.
Yeah, I think if they lose this game, they'll very soon be in do or die territory. And the upcoming fixtures for them are quite tricky because they face South Africa and India next. So it definitely doesn't get any simpler for them. So I think this is a must win game for England. However, like, they lost their opening match at the last World Cup as well, and then went on to win the World Cup. So that is something that they will look at and derive confidence from. And like Julia said, like, their batting got most things right in the first match, and they came quite close in such a huge chase. So that will give confidence to them. And like, all of their main batters seem to be in reasonably good form. Heather Knight and Nat Siver had impactful innings in the Ashes as well. And while Tammy Beaumont didn't really have a very good Ashes, she scored plenty of runs in New Zealand. And we all know how much she enjoys batting in World Cups. So she seemed to like be carrying on in the same vein as 2017 in the last match. So I think Tammy Beaumont's going to be a big player for them today because she enjoys batting in chases as well. And this West Indies bowling lineup might be to her liking. So yeah, I think we should keep an eye on Beaumont in today's match.
So now that West Indies and England will be facing each other, like, who do you think would be the pressure on Julia? West Indies obviously will be facing one of the strongest teams in the World Cup, but we already initially, a few of us told them as the underdogs, but they showed that what kind of a character they can show. Head to head, say that England is far ahead of West Indies. But then, who do you think would be the pressure? They come from a winning momentum. England are still yet to register their first win.
Yeah, well, I think that just says it all there. I think England will be absolutely determined to make sure that they get on the board. So they've probably got a little bit more pressure on them than the West Indies at this stage. I'm sure the West Indies were quite happy with their performance the other night, and to get over the line in such a tight game is really good to see that their resilience is high and their ability to cope under pressure is good. So to me, I feel that England are probably slightly more under pressure just to try and get some points on the board.
Definitely. So it would be interesting to see how much England are chasing. So it's a prediction time now. Coming to you, Mohit, first. How much is West Indies scoring? What is England chasing?
I think most of West Indies' key batters looked in really good touch in the first match. Like Doughton got out early, but before that, she timed the ball really well. Even Stephanie Taylor looked to be in good touch and got strangled down the leg side, which is kind of an unfortunate way to get dismissed. So I think like West Indies would be targeting at least 250 in this match. So I see them scoring somewhere around 250, especially if one of Matthews or Doughton can stay around till the 35 over mark. I think they should be able to get 250.
Coming to you, Julia.
Yeah, I always find the West Indies hard to try and predict because they're just a bit of a little inconsistent generally. But based on their form the other day, and the fact that this is a bit of it's a quick ground, it does take turn a fair bit, and the fact that England are only taking in the one spinner, I think that it'll be a pretty high scoring game. So I'm saying 250, 260 plus as well, minimum to be able to take this game out today. But hopefully the West Indies get off to a better start. If Doughton gets going, then it could be 300 plus quite easily.
250, 260 is what the prediction of both our experts is. But I'll also come to you, Julia, on who do you think would be the pick of the bowler for England?
Yeah, well, clearly I'm going to go with Eccleston. She's an amazing bowler. Didn't bowl very well the other day. Got taken apart a fair bit. She started off a little slow in the Ashes series leading into this, and came good with a little bit of time. So I'm thinking she's going to get better and better throughout the tournament, as well as the pitch is getting more and more suited to her style of bowling. The fact that she comes in so high and gets nice loop, I think she'll cause a few problems for the West Indians with her spin. So I'm either picking her or Kate Cross is my other big one. I think Kate Cross, just that back of a length, bowls pretty consistent lines and will just keep it nice and tight and hope and potentially frustrate the West Indian batters.
Kate Cross and Sophie Eccleston is what Julia said. Mohit, your take on that? Spinners are getting help, so you're going with Sophie Eccleston, a safe choice?
Yeah, I think Sophie Eccleston will be key for them. But however, I feel like other than Eccleston, who obviously will need to like do a lot of the heavy lifting for England as the lone spinner, I think someone like Anya Shrubsole might also be crucial because she has the ability to get those crucial wickets in the power play, and she was probably one of England's better bowlers in the match against Australia as well. Definitely the most economical. And again, she's one player who's often like saved her best for World Cups. And with her big hooping in swing, I think like she will look to target the front pad of a couple of West Indian batters in the power play. So yeah, Anya Shrubsole is someone who I would be definitely watching.
So we've got the predictions from our experts. We are just few minutes away from the first ball being bowled. So we'll just pick up this conversation in the mid-show. You stay tuned to Women's Cricket Zone for all the updates on women's cricket.